Depot Devoid.
Depot Devoid!
Depot Devoid.
Well, Ted, here we are again. After 1 week since our last recording, after we watched the 2007 Michael Bay Transformers movie, it has been 1 week. As we all know, since during that recording, we talked about how your daughter had just seen the Barbie movie in the theater. So obviously, the Barbie movie is still in the theater right now, which is proof that it has only been a week
It's the truth.
since we last discussed the Transformers.
That's science.
So we've had 1 week, or possibly more, if anyone were to do their research.
Or
Uh,
less, if you try and remember that time is a flat circle.
Time is an infinite sphere whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere.
All right, philosopher.
Maybe that's toast. Something is an infinite sphere. Cybertron is an infinite sphere.
Is it?
No, it's not. It is not. And Ted, this is Depot Devoid.
This is Depot Devoid, and I am Ted Fagan.
I am also Ted. No, I am Matt Fagan. I am Ted's brother.
Are you
Probably.
sure about that?
As sure as I am about anything.
As
Because
long as the day is tall.
the Transformers journey has done me in.
And now it's time to do them in.
Here is what has happened so far. Previously on Depot Devoid, we have vowed to do our best, to do our worst, to examine the phenomenon that is the Transformers and to somehow come up with a pitch for a worse Transformers movie than Michael Bay's 2007 Transformers. And in order to do that, we have watched the original Transformers. We have watched the first animated Transformers movie. And most of all, we have watched Michael Bay's 2007 Transformers. And frankly, I barely survived the experience. And now we have stepped back. We have collected our thoughts. And we are here once again to talk about the Transformers, but this time we're here to do it. Sisters are doing it for themselves.
All right, well, Matt, I'm going to start this one out here. And I want you to tell me what you think about this. This is a simple idea. This is the plot. On an asteroid prison, a group of dangerous aliens known as Decepticons are set to be transported to another station. The Decepticons engineer an escape and hijack a ship, prompting a warden to hire two shape-changing bounty hunters, Ugg and Lee, to pursue them to Earth. Studying life on Earth via various satellite television transmissions, Ugg assumes the form of a rock star, Johnny Steele, while Lee remains undecided, thus retaining his blank, featureless head. On a rural Kansas farm, the Brown family sits down to breakfast. Father Jay and Mother Helen send teenage daughter April and younger son Brad off to school while waiting on mechanic Charlie McFadden, a former baseball pitcher. Charlie has become the town drunk and crackpot the claims of alien abductions foretold by messages through his fillings. Am I doing good so far? That evening, Brad overhears the Decepticons' stolen ship crash landing and goes to investigate with Jace. They discover a cow that's been partially eaten by Decepticons and, disturbed, flee back to the house. Meanwhile, the Decepticons kill and feed on a local police officer. Later, the bounty hunters take his police car as a method of transport and later besiege the farm and cut its electrical connection. While checking the circuit breaker, Jay is attacked by one of the Autobots, and despite being severely wounded, just barely manages to escape. In the barn, April is rolling in the hay with her boyfriend Steve when he is attacked by and killed by one of the Autobots. The creature itself is slain. Then it devours one of Brad's lit firecrackers. The remaining Decepticons sabotage the Browns and Steve's cars, forcing the Browns to shelter themselves inside the home. Meanwhile, the bounty hunters search the town for the Decepticons, causing a panic at the church and bowling alley, with the second hunter assuming the form of various townspeople, including Charlie. Brad escapes the farm and gets help and runs into the bounty hunters. And upon learning of their true nature and intentions, he leads them to the Decepticons' location. The remaining Decepticons kidnap April and return to their ship when the bounty hunters arrive and attempt to flee. Charlie and Brad manage to rescue April, but Brad drops a large firecracker he intended to use to destroy the ship when the Decepticons discover their escape. But the Decepticons take off and destroy the farmhouse out of spite. Charlie throws a Molotov cocktail, like a real cock, made from his whiskey bottle into the ship, causing the fire, which detonates the firecracker and kills the Decepticons. The bounty hunters give Brad a handheld device to contact them in case of future invasion, then use the technology to restore the Brown farmhouse. Charlie leaves the UGG and Lee to become an intergalactic bounty hunter. Unbeknownst to anyone, Decepticon eggs are seen in the barn inside a chicken's nest and then seem to be ready to hatch. You wouldn't know it from the plot that I read, but these Decepticons and Autobots do turn into balls and roll out.
Only balls.
What's that?
And only balls.
Yes. But what do you think of my quickie on that? Yeah.
I think that that was pretty lazy, and our current educational systems plagiarism detection software might have some flag there.
What was plagiarized there, buddy?
All I can say is, I hope you've got a backup plan.
Oh, no, I've got an entire plan. But I just thought immediately from the get-go, rather than ruining it, taking the plot of the movie Critters and just replacing it with some Autobot and Decepticon lore, done.
A piece of absolute gold that you have inadvertently mined there is the term Decepticon eggs. And I definitely want to explore that idea somehow. But I do think that the problem there is, one of the things that I specifically said I didn't want to do, that I wanted to try to avoid doing, was to make a terrible Transformers movie by simply not making a Transformers movie.
But see, I didn't do that.
A couple of ways that would have been really fun to just take what Michael Bay was doing even further, but then the end game of those choices was there's just no Transformers in it at all, which he almost did anyway.
Oh, just wait until you see what I actually got cooking, Matt. Just wait.
So how do we want to do this? We have each come with some kind of treatment for the worst Transformers movie. How are you feeling about yours?
Well, Matt, I mean, I just started out with Let's Ruin Transformers 1.0, which, as reads in my paper here, just read the Wikipedia entry for the plot of the 1986 movie Critters and throw in some references to Transformers. This is easy as pie.
Critters is a pretty awesome movie though. It's
Is it,
way better than Transformers.
it's so much better than Michael Bay's Transformers. All I had to do was throw in some Decepticons and some fucking Autobots, and then
Oh my,
backtrack and say, by the way, they turn into balls and roll out.
it was more faithful to the Transformers lore already than Michael Bay's movie was.
100%. I would love to hear what you have prepared for us, if
Okay,
that's okay.
that's
I want to end it, but I will do it before you if you prefer. I actually do my.
this is all good. This is it unsurprisingly, anyone who knows me would not be shocked to hear that this might be a little long for the treatment. Um I I did a lot of the worst thing about this process is that if anything, we had an embarrassment of riches. There were so many wonderful ideas being kicked around for just wrecking the property that it was hard to decide what to use and what not to use because um, we identified some great stuff in the cartoon. The 1986 movie uh, was actually surprisingly good at doing a bad job with the Transformers, and Michael Bay had so many terrible ideas. Um, so I took what I could, and I did my best here. So my movie, like the original 1986 movie, this is going to take place after the first couple of seasons of the show. There's no time jump because we need Spike, the teenaged human character, for our movie. And we are going to begin with the Autobots loading up to return to Cybertron with a supply ship full of Energon cubes. The plan is to leave Earth behind now, and they're going back home with enough Energon to turn the tide of war. And by this time, Spike is totally strung out on Energon. He has been shooting up straight Energon for months. Nobody has figured out what is wrong with him. He was supposed to stay behind on Earth with Sparkplug, but he stows away on board the ship uh, because they were taking all the Energon cubes with them. And the ship,
Burmese rupees.
he was not able to even face the notion for a second of being left without Energon. And the ship blasts off with him on board to a wailing saxophone solo by Kenny G, or the cheapest knockoff that we can find. This soundtrack is going to be only saxophone solos all the way through. So
You've already gotten me to a point where I hate it so fucking hard because the saxophone is one of the worst instruments ever invented.
yes, we are off to a great start then. I'm hoping to alienate you even more. So Spike is a drugged up fuck up, and he will somehow, it doesn't matter how, cause the ship to crash land when they get to Cybertron. Optimus Prime is horribly injured in the crash, and now he can only transform into what looks like himself, but sitting in a wheelchair. And every time he transforms, he screams in horrible pain, but that is the least of their problems. Every single Cybertronian transformer is completely disgusted by their new alt forms as Earth vehicles. They are gross and alien. Nobody is glad to see these Autobots. Cybertronian authorities tell the Earth Transformers that they don't need their stupid Energon because they've already solved their power problems on the homeworld. It's been 3 million fucking years. Did you think they were just going to wait for you? They have moved on from these old power sources. Oh, also, the war is long since over. It should be noted here, the original series states that the Transformers were dormant on Earth for 4 million years, but my movie is going to needlessly assert that it was 3 million years because fuck you. And my hope is that people in the audience would immediately be like, what? And it'll totally take them out of the moment, and then they will stew about it for like 20 minutes and miss a lot of what's going on anyway. So at this point, Optimus Prime becomes obsessed with the idea of walking again. And so the rest of the movie is about Optimus Prime sending an Autobot on a quest to steal Megatron's legs. Meanwhile, Cybertronian society has changed a lot in the last 3 million years, and there is little room for these ancient robots and their unusable ideas. Cybertronians are now a largely peaceful but isolated race. They engage in small-scale space exploration, but they're self-sufficient and not really interested in trade or communication with their galactic neighbors. The Autobots are not welcomed. The robots of present-day Cybertron do not transform. In the intervening 3 million years, as the clash between Autobots and Decepticons came to a head, transforming became a symbol not only of the war, but of deception in general. So not only do they consider the Earth Autobots' alt forms to be horrific and alien, but also proof of their ill intent and a constant reminder of Cybertron's shameful past. So, Optimus Prime wants Megatron's legs, but they left all the Decepticons behind on Earth. So he needs to send someone back across the galaxy to bring Megatron back to Cybertron. And none of his usual team can do it because they're all in Cybertronian re-education camps, catching up on 3 million years of history and culture. So the hero of the story has to be someone that we've never seen before. In this case, it's the escape pod of the ship that they crashed here in. The escape pod, which is affixed below the rear of the ship, is a transformer named Caboose. He was undamaged in the crash, although we have never actually seen him. The supply ship crashed headfirst into some Cybertronian structures or outcroppings or something back in Act 1, and we just left it there. Now, we cut back to the crash site and show the escape pod detach from the back of the ship and transform into its robot form. How long has it been since the ship crashed? And why hasn't Caboose moved before now? The movie will make no attempt to answer these questions. Caboose travels directly to Optimus Prime's quarters and volunteers for the mission to Earth. He will now be the main character of our story, and you will never care about him at all. Whenever the movie cuts to a scene featuring Caboose, a totally kick-ass saxophone solo starts up. He doesn't have a lot of lines, but actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf will provide the voice of Caboose, and it will be well publicized that he was paid $400 million for the role. Caboose travels to Earth under his own power, which takes a super long time. While that's happening, we pretty much just watch Optimus Prime sitting at home being a wheelchair. Occasionally, one of our familiar Autobots will stop by to check on him and ask if any of the mechanics have attempted new repairs, or if perhaps he has found some way to contribute to Cybertronian society. But he just struggles to rise and then sits back down again, muttering, "One shall stand, one shall fall." But nobody understands what he means by that, so the soundtrack plays a super mournful saxophone solo. Meanwhile, Bumblebee gets caught transforming, and the Cybertronian authorities arrest him for suspected sedition. He is sent to the chief mechanic, cleverly known as Mechanicus, to have his ability to transform removed. This is a procedure known as stripping the gears, which used to happen only in the most extreme cases. But nowadays, you only get one chance. It's horrifying and super sad, and Bumblebee will never be the same. Unfortunately, the entire thing takes place off screen, and we only hear that it happened when Ironhide tells Optimus Prime about it. The saxophone solo in this scene is really, really tense. One by one, all the Autobots have their gears stripped, and Prime is told about it, but we never see it happen. And this is all intercut with silent scenes of Caboose flying through space completely alone. When Caboose finally gets to Earth, he is shown in various scenes of questing, but without any real context. He hikes through dramatic rock formations in Peruvian mountains, and he hikes around lush hillside forests, and he hikes through the red and orange landscapes of the American Southwest, and never once do we know exactly where he is, or why he is there, or what he hopes to find, and he definitely doesn't do anything exciting or transform. And then suddenly, with no warning, he is face to face with Megatron. Dramatic saxophone sting! Megatron throws up his arms and screams, where are they? Who cares? They punch each other a lot. This is basically the first piece of robot action in the whole movie. So we switch to slow motion and have Caboose transform a bunch of times for no reason. And it stretches it out for way longer than anybody has the patience for. They seem to be alone, because nobody is helping either of them. Except right at the end, when Megatron transforms into a gun, and suddenly Starscream is there, so he can fire the gun. But before he can fire, Caboose closes the distance and bitch slaps the gun right out of Starscream's hand. And there's a fizzy, sparky explosion, and Starscream runs off, holding his hand and whimpering, and the gun lays twitching on the ground. Megatron begins to transform, but he's screaming, "No! My matter displacement circuit has been ruined! Ruined!" Caboose tears his legs off to take them back to Prime, but Megatron was right. His matter displacement circuit has been ruined, and without it, he can't switch sizes between robot form and gun form. So Caboose has the legs that Prime wanted, but they are only 6 inches long. With a heavy sigh, he sticks the legs in his portal and he begins the long flight back to Cybertron. By the time Caboose arrives back on Cybertron, Prime is the only G1 Transformer whose gears have not been stripped, and only because he is already broken. Caboose, with some embarrassment, presents him with the tiny Megatron legs that fit in the palm of his hand. Prime begins to weep. He cries and crushes Megatron's legs, and slowly his tears turn into slightly hysterical laughter. Caboose looks very uncomfortable, and suddenly Spike comes in the room. We literally haven't seen him since we arrived on Cybertron, and have no sense at all of how much time has passed. He is skinny and glowing. "What happened to you?" asks Prime. Spike, the only human being on a planet devoid of organic life, has been subsisting on nothing but pure energon for all of this time, and now he has depleted the entire supply that they brought back with them in the wreckage, and he wants more. He's burning with energy, but he knows it won't last. And there is no more. Cybertronian Transformers don't even use that tech anymore, so Spike demands that Caboose return him to Earth so that he can steal more energon from the Decepticons there. Prime obviously tells him they can't do that, but Spike places his glowing hands on either side of Prime's head. And Spike tells Caboose that if he doesn't return him to Earth, he's going to burn through Prime's head and leave him nothing but a gutted wreck. And the movie ends with Caboose and Spike chugging slowly through space, with Prime all alone and still broken back on Cybertron in a society that rejects him. The only friends he has are now corrupted and resentful, and Spike is probably going to die before he gets back to Earth. And the credits roll with Tone Loc rapping over a hip-hop saxophone solo. The end!
Well played. I enjoy your story.
I was slightly afraid that it might end up being entertaining just because it was so terrible.
I mean, it's a wonderful parody that you have to appreciate, and I I love how we both took our different angles of it. You stuck with the cartoon, and I stuck with "fuck Michael Bay," which you'll see here probably after our little break. It's wonderful. I really enjoy the angle that you went with on that. That was good.
I figure if you want to be really shitty, you could have a post-credit sequence where Optimus Prime wakes up in 1984 and it was all a dream.
A Energon Dream?
I mean, maybe.
Transformers.
I had fun. I had fun with it.
I'm glad. The one that I'm actually going to be presenting here in a moment, Emily insisted that I tell everybody is my fan fiction.
And why does she insist on that distinction?
I don't honestly think it is, but we'll get to that. I was just taking what Michael Bay did and I thought it works. Did you actually ever watch the second Transformers movie by Michael Bay?
Um, which
Rise of the Fallen or some bullshit, something,
I,
something.
I definitely I don't remember them, but I definitely saw the second one. Um, Revenge of the Fallen, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And then is it the third one that's Dark of the Moon?
I don't give a fuck.
I'm pretty sure I saw the second one at some point, and then like the beginning of the third one. I don't know how many there are, but there's way too many. Yeah.
Yeah.
I I remember I told you I tried to watch the one that supposedly introduces the Dinobots, but I could not make it that far. It was so bad. So
They
bad.
are an unacceptable property.
Before we break, I am gonna bring something up which maybe relates to what you were writing for your movie. But I revisited those recordings of our previous episodes because I couldn't remember them from 1 week ago. And uh, I feel like we need to make a distinction because I don't want your criticism of Michael Bay's focus on piss play with giant robots to be taken as Depot Devoid kink shaming Michael Bay, because it is perfectly fine if Michael Bay wants to be into piss play. That is totally fine. I think that we need to make the distinction that the problem lies in its specific inappropriateness to the Transformers franchise, and not just that Michael Bay is a perv. Because, it's fine if he's a perv.
Matt, everybody has their kinks. And, piss play is one of the most safe ones of them. It's sterile. It's fine. It's not going to hurt anybody.
Unless it's with a robot, because you're not really sure what that flu is going to be.
That's the problem here is Michael Bay. Michael Bay is not even just having piss play from robots. He's also having like dogs piss on them and then they're being like, ew, yuck. Well, they're pissing all over everybody. People foliage. He's got a weird obsession with piss, and again, that's fine. I just don't understand why it's like, do we need giant robots pissing on people?
It's
I mean, hold on, wait. Do we need giant robots pissing on people? I mean, because
I
what?
do
No,
not
no,
personally.
let's step it to another level. If we've got giant robots on Earth and we've got people on Earth and we've got Europhiliacs on Earth and we're having a fun time, is that going to help smooth the relationship between the two species?
I mean, I guess it depends on. I mean, you have specified that there is at least a subset of humans who identify as Europhiliacs. Is there also a subset of Transformers who identify as Europhiliacs, or is that a fetish that they did not consider as non-biological life forms until they saw demonstrations by humans on Earth? Do they get it from us?
I suppose my only criticism here is Europhiliacs probably ain't want to get pissed on by oil, which is apparently what they're doing, and that's
This, I
that's
mean, this
non-consensual at this point, and that is a problem.
but maybe that is what Michael Bay is reaching for. Maybe his kink that he's trying to work out. Maybe he is trying to figure out what this kink is, and maybe what he really wants is a consensual Europhiliac bottoming relationship with a giant robot. And I understand that that's probably a difficult relationship to find. And just the journey to know oneself well enough to realize that that is the dynamic that he's seeking. I mean, maybe that is a good enough reason for these movies to exist.
You know what, Matt? Maybe there's space in the universe for Michael Bay after all.
I think there is. I think that you know, more power to him in finding himself through these movies. It's a shame that he, in order to discover the love of interspecies Europhilia, he had to take a giant steaming shit on someone else's childhood. But at least he found what he wanted in the end. I don't know how many movies it took him.
You know
Too
what?
many.
We might want to invite Michael on here so that we can talk to him about it and see how he feels about our childhood and his.
Well, Michael, if you're listening, please drop us a line at Depot Devoid Podcast at gmail.com. Anytime, buddy.
But on that note, I'm going to take a quick break and then we're going to talk about the other one that I actually wrote rather than me plagiarizing for entertainment's sake, because god damn it, that was fun for me.
All right. I look forward to it. I hope that it is not just the Wikipedia entry for Critters 2.
I hope that you've actually seen the Transformers 2 movie. And we'll be back.
I know I did. All right. See you in a minute.
Love you, Matt.
Love you, Dad.
Welcome back for a second time to fuck Michael Bay, and you ruined my childhood, you sack of dildos.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I thought previously you said that it was called Michael Bay Can Eat My Whole Ass. Now, are we changing things around? I just need to know what to put on the title cards.
I'm sorry, Matt. We are here at Transformers 2, and as I have written in my paper, the title is a direct sequel to the first one,
Excellent.
which I think is a good title.
Sounds great.
And did you watch the direct sequel to the first one?
I am almost positive that I did.
Okay. Well,
Wait,
in that case,
were
you're
there
going,
were there events that happened in the movie?
there were events, few of them,
Okay, and characters. Were there characters?
barely.
Uh and how about settings?
There was a girl with short thumbs and a cannibal.
Then I definitely, yeah, I definitely saw a movie that had some characters and they were in places. So yes, I saw it.
This is the one before Marky Mark.
I saw Marky Mark was in the one that supposedly had Dinobots in it that I started to watch and did not see any Dinobots, but there was a lot of Marky Mark.
I mean, he was transforming all the time, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't fucking know what he was doing. Um, you know what should have happened in my movie is at the end, Optimus Prime should have retracted his fist into his arm, and then in its place, a glowing tool would come out, like in the cartoon, except it's a noose, and then he hangs himself and he dies, and that's the end.
One shall stand, I shall dangle.
We definitely established in the 1986 animated movie that Transformers are vulnerable to having their windpipes crushed. So that would
Pretty
be,
spectacular.
yeah, that would be a viable way for Prime to end his life.
It's an embarrassment what they've done to this. All right, let me embarrass it further.
Okay, make it worse.
This
So
is
much.
Transformers 2, a direct sequel to the first one. And again, that is my title. Matt, it begins as the way that the actual Transformers 2 direct sequel to the first one began. I want to play a little game here and have you tell me when it begins to veer off from reality.
I'm going to have a
The
really
actual
hard time
original.
telling that.
Sorry, what's that?
That I'm going to have a really hard time telling that unless
That's what I
unless
want.
it's super obvious by like including characters from other franchises. I am not going to know.
Oh no. I want you to be confused about it. I want you to tell me this is when Ted steered it away from the real deal. So
Okay.
here we go. Transformers 2, a direct sequel to the first one. In 2009, 2 years after the Autobots allowed the whole city to be destroyed by repeatedly passing off their most valuable football to a small meat sack named Sam, Sam is going to college in Princeton University. Sam has been seeing Cybertronian Sybils ever since playing with the darned cyber football, and Sam, blissfully unaware of Megatron having been resurrected, is just spending time trying to cheat on his girlfriend with some blonde girl named Alice. At some frat party that Sam and some other nerd weasel their way into, Sam meets with Alice. While flirting, they begin making out, And it turns out that Alice is some kind of monstrous combination of hot girl and Decepticon tongue robot sent by Megatron to kill Sam. However, Alice has grown fond of Sam while diddling his throat with her 6-foot-long metallic tentacle porn-inspired appendage tipped with a human tongue.
I
Sam,
am
a huge fan of
sadly
tentacle porn.
sure that is part of the real movie.
Sam, being a huge fan of tentacle porn, is so desperately head over heels with his new cyborg girlfriend, dumps his girlfriend Michaela when she shows up to save him. Michaela is pretty butthurt, and she throws the shard of the Allspark at Sam, and she takes off on her motorcycle. Sam picks up the shard, and he and Alice go back to her place. The Autobots try to contact Sam frequently over the next few months to no avail. After getting Sam's address from his concerned father, who has also not heard from him in months, Optimus Prime sends some of the Autobots to go check on him. Upon arriving at Sam's apartment, the Autobots take a beat and piss on the locals and destroy their foliage before accidentally breaking the front door down. A concerned and clearly pregnant Alice comes out of the door to see what is the matter. She tells them that Sam and she had eloped. He dropped out of school to get a job to help take care of their ever-growing family. The Autobots were preparing to leave. Bumblebee looks back over his shoulder at the doorway where he sees Alice turn around and re-enter the apartment. And he sees a Decepticon tattoo on her shoulder. Pointing this out to the others, Ratchet does a quick scan of Alice and confirms that she is indeed part robot. What's more, she and the child in her womb are both part robot. Pacing back and forth, Ratchet tells the others that they need to explain the situation to Optimus. After returning to their base and briefing their leader, Optimus looks very concerned. This is a very important development. This means that we can interbreed with them. Bumblebee, you must go and get the word out to all of the others as fast as possible. The word was spread like wildfire amongst Autobot and Decepticon alike. In no time at all, the humans and robots were banging like crazy. Smash cut to 3 months later. We see hordes of pregnant robots and humans roaming the streets of Princeton, New Jersey. Cut to the front doors of University Medical Center. Panning up to a third-floor window, we find inside briefly flashing the words, "Maternity Ward." Inside, we see Sam, unshaven and haggard, but looking on in excitement as Alice is struggling to push out their child. Moments later, we hear crying mixed with a robotic whining. A nurse hands Sam an angle grinder and asks, "Do you want to cut the cord?" Sam takes the grinder, and we see him use it to cut through a metallic tube beaming with blue light as shards of metal and sparks and blue and gray. After cutting the cord, the doctor passes the baby to him, all swaddled up in a blanket. We can't see the child in the blanket. Sam looks down expectantly. Alice in the background says, "How is she?" As he looks down, we see Sam, the smile fall from his face. He looks up, ashen, as the baby cries grow louder. "Dear God," Sam says, "what have we done?" Finn.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Is it more ridiculous than anything else that he has put out?
Well, first of all, I don't know. I genuinely do not know.
Where did we steer off from the Michael Bay path? What I did to it.
Okay, I feel like the blonde girl Decepticon is a real thing that appears in the movie. that sparked this dim memory from long ago. That might have been the moment that I checked out of the movie. But I feel like at least the beginning of that sequence is real. Um, I want I want to say that Michael Bay would not hate the character so much that he would have him continue to pursue a girl that he actively knows is an evil robot, but I am also not sure that he wouldn't do that.
We've seen Decepticons change.
He I know that the worldwide fuckathon did not happen in the real movie. So at the very least, by the time we get to the worldwide fuckathon, we're firmly in your version of events. As to the exact moment of transition, I am not sure because it is easy it's easy to believe really stupid things of Michael Bay, and because I can't remember what actually happens in that movie, uh I'm just not sure how stupid he would let things get. Um uh you know what? I'm gonna say that that Shia LaBeouf went ahead and fucked the robot knowing she was a robot. And but he wouldn't actually have married her.
Well, you know what? We can allow that to stand. Truth or not.
I will definitely not be rushing to check the real movie to
Nobody
see.
should because it was garbage. And what I just did right there, way fucking better than what that movie turned out to be. There was only one piss party, and it happened at somebody's door where they're like, oops, I'm sorry, I broke down your door.
I,
Oh,
I assumed that was all real because it sounded like a total retread of everything that happened outside of Shia LaBeouf's parents' house in the first one. And I assumed that Michael Bay would be lazy enough to just use all of the same gags over again.
yeah, the actual part of it was it ended with he wanted to bang the Decepticon girl and cheat on his girlfriend, but then she turned into a tongue robot with tentacle porn and this like 6 or 7 foot long wiggly mutant appendage thing with a human tongue diddling off of it. And I don't care. Anybody else can check on that and tell me I'm wrong because I haven't seen it since it first came out on DVD when my kids were little. Because I'm never going to watch it a second time because fuck that. But it had tentacle porn and a human tongue wiggling on the end of it.
I 100% believe that Michael Bay is into tentacle porn. Again, that's no problem, but that seems like exactly the sort of thing that Michael Bay would be into.
No shame.
No, it's just
don't need to put it into my childhood. There's enough weirdness.
It's a character type. I feel like there are like the subset of people who are into tentacle porn as a fetish. There's a certain type of dude who falls into that category. I'm sure there are variations. There is a spectrum, but I feel like there are certain people that I've encountered that I know that's the sort of thing that they are into. And Michael Bay is definitely in the category of that doesn't fucking surprise me at all.
And realistically, that's an okay thing to be into. There's nothing wrong with that.
It doesn't need to
But
be in the
don't take my
Transformers.
childhood and rewrite it as tentacle porn.
No, it's tentacle porn and piss play do not belong in, for example, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles either. There are just certain things that that they don't go hand in hand. Making an accurate and respectful version of the Transformers does not involve a lot of piss play or tentacle porn.
And again,
Not really.
absolutely. Piss play and tentacle porn, fucking do your jam. We don't need to put that into the 6-year-olds party.
If you want to make a live action adaptation of the Archer cartoon, there is plenty of room for piss play and tentacle porn
Dana.
in Transformers.
Yeah.
It is strange bedfellows with Transformers. The real question now is, do you believe that we have in any way come up with something worse than what Michael Bay did? How are you feeling about that?
You know, I had a good comedic reaction to both of the things that we did. We had fun with it. And yeah, it was bad. I had fun leading up to a possible sequel, the bullshit that I made. But you know, it's amazing trash. I had so much fun writing it. It and no, it's not good. I just had fun being like, hey, let's take what he did, because I could have wrecked it in an entirely different way. I just figured, you know what? We already watched the other ones. Why not take the direct sequel from the last one that we were doing and go with that horrible, horrible tentacle porn throat monster that she had and be like, oh, well, Sam's clearly into it. She licked his insides and let's have a baby. And we don't know what it is. That's why I kept it masked. We don't know. I don't know if we're going to continue this on another time. We might decide to be like, let's ruin Transformers again too. So I left it.
You can't
Clearly,
tell what the baby is because it's got one of those versions of the stickers on the old toys that is heat activated. So until you press your thumb on that baby's face, you don't know whether it's going to come up with a Decepticon logo or an Autobot logo.
yeah, yeah, and it's amusing. I really enjoyed this game, and I know that I wrote some really silly bullshit, but you know what? It was a good time.
I feel like if one tried to actually make the movie that I outlined, it would in fact be awful. But I think it might. It's There's too much weird shit happening that might end up being less boring than what was going on in the Michael Bay movie. In that respect, uh, it could be a failure. I feel like it was hard not to try to present it in an entertaining way. Although I think that if you actually had to sit through it, it would be less entertaining than me telling the story.
And what I wrote, I feel that there's a 1 to 3 possibility that it could actually be made into a movie if Michael Bay's involved.
It's That would probably end up being the basis of his adaptation of Battlestar Galactica. Well, yes, I've had a very good time with this. I think uh it was a successful game. I I cannot stand by my creation as objectively worse or less respectful than Michael Bay's version of the Transformers, but I think that it is at least as bad in a different way. I think it would really be hard uh, to top what Michael Bay produced without just deliberately making something really boring. And that's, like I said it before, I think that's kind of a cheat. And the trick was to try to make something that had the ingredients of a movie, and just fucked up all the parts. And I hope that's what we've done here today.
I think we did a good job of making a mess of it, but it was already a mess. We just stirred the pot and added some ingredients that were already on the side and just scraped them back into the pot.
It well, and one of the things that I found really interesting was in taking the whole journey and realizing how many great ideas for wrecking the Transformers were already kind of laid out for us along the way before we even got to Michael Bay. And that was a really fun series of discoveries. And I think that I think Michael Bay doesn't give a shit about the Transformers. I don't
Not
think he ever did. I don't think that being respectful or celebrating the Transformers in any way was ever part of his agenda. And I think that that is what sets us apart. And we would, like, you and me trying to do what he did. It's never going to be the same because we we like the Transformers. It's
yeah.
there's a fundamentally different approach, um, because we experience joy, and Michael Bay does not.
And to be completely honest, I have been able. The reason that I exposed my children to this when they were little was, regardless of what it did to my childhood feelings, it was still giant fucking robots, you know?
Yes.
And as bad and unacceptable and horrible as it is, still giant fucking robots. And I was talking to a friend of mine earlier who was like, robot jocks. Like, yeah, I know robot jocks. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
have it
Giant
in that folder right
fucking
now.
robots. And
Yeah.
I really love that.
Yeah.
Even when it's a subpar deal, you can look at it and say, hey, still giant fucking robots.
And that is what I find so remarkable about Michael Bay's movie, is the way he is able to undermine that
Yeah.
and somehow drain the experience of watching giant robots wail on each other of all joy. And that is an incredible achievement, which I don't think you and I would be able to replicate. Uh, what I do think is, Michael Bay making a shitty version of something that we have loved in another form. He's certainly not the only person to have ever done that, and he's not the last person either. And I think that this approach is a fun and healthy way to mitigate that horror, uh, because asking the question, why did they make such a bad movie out of this thing that I love? And here is a list of things that could have made it better. That's going to be a losing proposition. That's always going to make you unhappy. And I think that instead, the special challenge that we have set for ourselves to do a worse job unlocks a much more joyful experience.
Yeah.
It gives us an excuse to go back to the source material. It gives us a reason to pay special attention to something that maybe we have started to take for granted over the years. Spend a little more time with it, and then just completely fuck it, like all to hell. And that was an absolute delight. And I think that we can do that with more things.
I was a little bit nervous about the wrecking, just because I didn't know where I was going to go with it. But I had fun, and I'm not concerned about doing it again because oh damn that I wrecked that real good.
Well, absolutely. And I know that we don't actually have any listeners, but if there is one and you want to share your stories of how you would like to ruin the Transformers, I think we would be very happy to hear them and absolutely present them at a future time. Because this was a blast, and I think that everybody would have fun doing this. So hey, Depot Devoid Podcast at gmail.com. Anybody wants to ruin the Transformers, give us a shout. Michael Bay, if you would like to apologize, absolutely get in touch with us and tell us how sorry you are. And we can get together, hang out under some giant pissing robots and kick back and talk about talk about what you've done, Michael Bay. Good Lord, man.
Lube us up, Michael Bay.
Stop lubricating this podcast. All right, well, is that it? Do we have anything else?
I mean, we can wreck it again if Michael Bay wants us to wreck it again.
We shall remain forever poised to take on this challenge another time if it ever comes to that.
These two Fagans wage their battle to protect the rest of the fucking human race from Michael Bay.
I don't know. He's got a pretty big budget behind him.
Yeah, but my cracking voice as I'm trying to play a bad song is much stronger than his budget.
What if
'Cause I
he
actually care.
what if he makes a movie about our podcast and wrecks it?
Bring it on, bitch. I
Uh,
got you, Michael Bay. I clocked you long ago. You think you could
it's
take
gonna
me?
suck so hard.
You think you could take me, Michael Bay? He probably can. He could probably have me arrested.
I mean, he is a Hollywood elite. They have they have more rights than the rest of us. That's what I heard anyway. They have more rights, they have more vaccines,
More
they have
Hollywoods?
they have actual flying cars that
Birds?
probably transform.
Flat Earth?
They have secret access to the flat earth.
Lizard people?
Oh no, that's a different thing.
Ah, shit. I can never remember my conspiracy theories. Fuck them all anyway.
That's in Washington. That's the other side of the country.
Pizzagate?
That's 100% real. That's the only one. That is the one true thing.
Please renounce that before anybody believes that we believe that.
I am going to I'm, I'm going to demand that Michael Bay produce a $500 million Pizzagate movie.
All right, Michael Bay, if you believe any of the bullshit that you've done before, bring us Pizzagate.
The poster is going to be Optimus Prime punching Hillary Clinton.
I don't get that at all.
I'm so sorry. I don't know where that path emerged from or how we followed it to where we got to. Um,
Well, the best part, Matt, is we can delete it. We can delete it.
But we can't delete it. We can only clarify that it is
Michael Bay
actually
is terrible.
it is actually only you who believes in Pizzagate and not me. That's what we need to clarify. Oh my
That's all
goodness.
accurate.
So Ted, why is my fake Transformers movie the most important movie of all time?
Oh, Matt, why was it the most important movie of all time? I mean, I have some criticisms about
What?
why
There are
it's
criticisms?
insensitive.
Um,
Matt, it's insensitive to people who are in wheelchairs.
um, People in wheelchairs will never see it because they are not allowed to go to the movies because they block the aisles, and that is a violation of fire code.
Now, see, this is the type of thing that you should delete. You've gone too far. Uh, why is your version the most important version, the best version? Um, I really appreciate the way that you had this movie go down the path of, oh, you have actually been outmoded by 3,000 years and alienated and thusly so. It made sense to me. I really liked that.
Yeah, that was a, sort of an. There were elements to the plot that were accidentally plausible. Well, then, how about why is your fake Transformers movie not as good as RoboCop?
Because RoboCop didn't get his throat reamed by a 6 foot long Decepticon tongue tentacle.
Do you think that RoboCop has enough of a windpipe to be able to be choked to death like a
I
Transformer?
don't care. I want to see it happening if we're going to play this ridiculous game that I wrote. I want it to be happening and have some speaker on his throat say, "Nothing to hear, move along, citizen."
Oh, so much robot choking. Um, I think I think we might have done all the damage we can do today. Uh, no amount of damage could ever truly be equal to the amount of damage that Michael Bay can afford to do on his budget. But we, on our budget of $0, have done a remarkable job.
I think that we showed the world what is wrong with what Michael Bay has done. And unfortunately, the Transformers series in general, it's a great franchise that's got a lot to be leaned into and appreciated. My childhood is a little bit destroyed just from watching it. You know, and even the early stuff, it's like, oh, it wasn't nearly as cool. But I mean, shit, it's not nearly as bad as Voltron. Fuck
It,
that.
oh, but Voltron forms Devastator every week.
Yeah, and it also makes the princess cry because she's a female all the time, and everybody's got to save her. It's just the tropes. The tropes.
It is not the most enlightened storytelling that I have ever encountered. Um, No, it's not. But I enjoyed the first couple of seasons of Transformers. I think it holds up okay for what it is.
It's true.
All right. I think that we have done an amazing job, and hopefully we have ruined a couple of childhoods along the way. Um, alienated some left wingers and some right wingers, and everybody in a wheelchair, and everybody who likes to be peed on by oily robots.
And if anybody wants to know what's inside that swaddly blanket, just ask me because I fucking know.
As always,
Welcome. We will play with you.
that sounds horrifying.
Well, Matt, you do know the territory that we just jumped into, right?
This is taking a weird dark turn. I'm just going to
You
edit
asked
out-
for this.
I'm going to edit out the entire podcast. And I am just going to post like 80 minutes of blank noise. How's that?
Anybody's going to hear that within that blank noise. They know what's up.
And it's going to be better than the Michael Bay movie. And at 80 minutes, it'll be less than a third of the running time.
It's true. And whatever way you look at it, one shall stand and one shall fall.
Oh, God, I hope it's me. I love you, Ted. Thank you for
Matt.
this amazing journey.
This has been wonderful. It's only been a week.
This has been the most intense week of my life. I can't wait to go see the Barbie movie in the theaters tomorrow.
Just wait for Transformers 2.
Oh, I hope to wait forever.
We're gonna bring it on.
Okay.
You did this to us.
Oh, until next time.
Oh God.
Depot Devoid is hosted by Matt Fagan and Ted Fagan. Depot Devoid is not hosted by Ian Fagan because he died, and we miss him. Find us at Depot Devoid Podcast on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all your favorite podcast platforms, or reach us at depotdevoidpodcast@gmail.com.